food for thought. Is it like low rumbling? Food for thought. Is dedicated to feeding the Toledo region in a thoughtful manner. Now in its 10th year, congratulations, the organization's 800 volunteers serve over 3,500 families in our region through mobile pantries, a PB&J lunch outreach program, and tailored food boxes. Here to tell us more about Food for Thought is their executive director, Jill Bunge.
Hello, everyone. We're going to have to place on our imagination caps for what would have been. I'll still continue to make the hand gestures to reference the photos that once were. Thank you so much. It's truly a pleasure to be here. I'm going to talk about Food for Thought, who we are, what we do, and I'm really thankful to have all of you here to listen to our story. Is anyone familiar with Food for Thought and kind of what we do? And wonderful. Good. Thrilled to hear that. So I'm going to start off with our history. So we were founded, as Jean said, in 2007. We're celebrating our 10-year anniversary. And a group of people came together who had a common passion to feed hungry people. And it went a little beyond that. So they started making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches each Friday night and taking them downtown and distributing them on Saturday morning to anybody that they encountered. Oh.
What's happening?
Hey-o.
You hot-spotted it?
Yeah, it's in, but
Okay.
I wouldn't take the last one.
I'm not touching that. Thank you.
So this will also have to be the size of the images because this is intended to zoom in on all of these locations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
I think if you just click, there it is. Whoop. All right.
Allie to the rescue. Let's get a round of applause for Allie.
Yay!
So this is my lovely girlfriend Kelly standing over here. This is her daughter Allie. And Allie is the official Startup Toledo and Smoke and Seed intern. Okay? So thank you, Allie.
Awesome. Perfect. Can I ask a super intern job of you? That when I wink, you'll click?
Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. There it is. Our history. Okay, here we go. So, these folks came together. They were making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They were taking them downtown to hand out on Saturday morning to anyone that they encountered. So the premise here was obviously to provide sustenance to the people that they were serving, but also to use food as a vehicle to really make a connection with the people that they were reaching out to. And that's really the premise that has just grown and blossomed over the last 10 years. So we were also founded in Oregon at New Harvest Church. We resided there for many years, and that group of people also, once the PB&J got off the ground, they were trying to figure out other ways that they could help a community in need around them. So they opened a stationary pantry, and then we got into mobile pantries, which I'll touch on in a little bit. So yes, we're celebrating our 10 years this year, and we have grown tremendously and really evolved over the course of time. So our current programs and services look much different than they do now, or than they did then. So in May of 2014, we relocated from Oregon to downtown. So we are neighbors on Adams Street. We're now in Trinity Episcopal Church, right on the corner of Summit and Adams. And that's where we do some of our programming and services. And then we actually store the bulk of our food for our food distribution at a warehouse location across from Mud Hen Stadium on Huron. So we continue to do our peanut butter and jelly lunch distribution. That is very much ingrained in our identity. Most people know us as the peanut butter and jelly folks. Every single Friday night from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock p.m. at Trinity Church, we pack peanut butter and jelly lunches. Sometimes we have so many hands there, we're standing room only for PB&J. It's a wonderful entry point for us. We have lots of families, kids come down. We started making 50 lunches. We now make 300 lunches a week. And we continue to distribute them on Saturday morning. So as we're packing these lunches, we're very intentional and thoughtful about how we're doing that. So it's peanut butter and jelly, a couple snacks, napkin, and then Saturday morning is really where kind of the magic happens. So some of our core volunteers will actually we'll pack lunch bags on these wagons into these containers, and then on foot, despite polar vortex or heat wave, every Saturday morning we will go out and distribute these lunches on foot throughout downtown. We do take a particular route kind of around the bus stops, and we're launching soon what we're calling Original Food for Thought. So we're going to be packing lunches into backpacks, as folks did at the origin of the organization, and taking more circuitous routes downtown. And that really presents an opportunity for that connection, that meal sharing, kind of the premise of breaking bread together and really spending time and seeking people out. So most of the folks that we're serving on Saturday morning are people experiencing homelessness, though we, hand lunches out to anyone and everyone who we see on our walk around. I also want to tell one story. As Steve is here, our lovely board member and founding member of the organization, every Friday night we tell a very powerful story that was relayed to Steve by Dan Rogers of Cherry Street Mission. And this really, I think, is the core of what that initial program spoke to. So Dan was walking down the street and encountered a gentleman who he knew to be homeless at the time, and called him by name, greeted him, said hello, and the man started weeping on the sidewalk. And of course, being the person he is, he was alarmed and asked, "What's wrong? How can I help you? What can I do?" And that was the first time that gentleman had been spoken to by another human being in 5 days. And so that is really, that's the depth of what we're trying to reach when we're handing these lunches out. So it's much more than just peanut butter and jelly and 2 slices of bread. That is really the connection that we're trying to make with folks. So that evolved. That's where we're doing a lot of our close connection outreach. The mobile food pantries is where we're doing the bulk of our food assistance services. So as Jean said, we serve 3,500 families in 2016. We have 2 trucks and trailers. This is one of them. We line shelving along the inside and then pack that with shelf-stable food. And folks are able to shop through on the pantry and choose the items that work for themselves and their families. We offer food free of charge at 10 different locations around the Toledo area. Those are largely churches and schools and community centers, locations that don't have the capacity maybe to host their own pantry. So we come and bring like a pop-up pantry and take everything away, low maintenance, and here we come, showing up. So this has been really successful for us. We've also, over the past couple of years, really started to put an emphasis, and this is our interpretation of thoughtfulness, an emphasis on fresh fruits and vegetables. So that's something that we really try, we have a robust selection every pantry. And this thread of thoughtfulness really underlies all of our programming and services. So with regard to accessibility, we are of the mindset that if you show up to a food pantry, you are in need of food. So we ask that people just bring a photo ID, and that's all that we ask of them. And it creates a much more relaxed environment than, I will say, some other social services providers utilize. And most of the folks that we're serving here are low-income families and people who are honestly struggling to make ends meet at the end of the month. We are definitely a stopgap. We're not a solution to hunger by any means, but we are doing our part as a safety net to really make sure that people don't have to make difficult decisions between buying medicine or putting food on the table, paying their rent and utilities, or feeding their family. So with regard to the fresh produce, we, over the past 4 years, have partnered with the Toledo Farmers Market, and there's a lot of energy and momentum here. We're really excited about this partnership. So we started in the beginning of June. You will see us on Saturday mornings downtown near Erie, or in the Erie Street Market. We have a booth there that we call a reverse farmers market booth. So people can actually buy an extra head of lettuce and give it to us, and we in turn put that on our mobile pantries. We also accept monetary donations, and then we collect that money and pool it at the end of the market, and then we'll actually spend that on local growers at the market and purchase our fruits and vegetables for the coming pantries in the coming week. This has been so awesome for us, and we're so happy to be able to cycle some of that money back into the local food economy. And it's really cultivated amazing relationships with growers and farmers, so they know what we're doing. It's kind of this full picture of keeping the food system local and giving back. And we also opened up, the past couple of years, we've had gleaning opportunities for our volunteers. So we're actually sending volunteers out to farms to help us harvest food in fields that otherwise would have gone bad. And last year we distributed 10,000 pounds of local produce to families in need. So why do we do this? We do this for several reasons, but I am going to throw some stats at you that are pretty alarming. So in Ohio, 14.8% of Ohio residents are living in poverty. In Lucas County, that stat is 19.8%. Ohio actually ranks 6th in the country for being the most food insecure, which is not a list that you want to be in the top ranking of. So on average, 1 in 5 families experiences food insecurity, which means they don't have ready access to affordable, nutritious, or culturally appropriate food for themselves and their families. Looking at Lucas County, that number goes from 1 in 5 to 1 in 4. So 1 in 4 families, and children especially, are living in high rates of food insecurity and poverty. 80% of the kids in TPS are eligible for free and reduced meals. So this is a problem that I think really flies under the radar a lot of the time. We live in an agriculturally rich community. There's seemingly a sense of abundance, but people are really struggling every day. Go right ahead. So there's several barriers that prevents people from getting food and feeding themselves and their family healthy food. So we've really tried to kind of drill down and figure out how we can best impact that. In a survey that we did in the fall of 2016, in addition to the financial struggles that folks are going through, there's a lot of health problems in the population that we're serving. We had about 200 respondents last fall. 58% of them had been diagnosed with hypertension from their healthcare provider. 35% had diabetes. So in addition to just managing day-to-day life, the amount of bandwidth that you have to then be able to take into consideration your diet-related disease and make sure that you're managing that in your healthcare. So that's why the fresh fruits and vegetables are so important for us to be able to give accessibility to those. So of course, financial barriers, that's a huge one for people, just being able to afford food, especially healthy food. We all know that that shopping cart gets a little tight. And transportation is a really huge one too. So the mobility of our pantries to be able to go directly into neighborhoods of need is really huge for us. So there are several food deserts in our region and absolutely nationally, where their grocery store is a mile from anyone walking distance, or there's no our public transportation in Toledo. Thinking about making that kind of plan and effort to feed a family of 5 with 1 trip to the grocery store and carry, how much food can you really carry back if you're walking or if you're taking a bus? It's a struggle, and it's something that we need to be cognizant of as we're thinking about our food system as a whole. And that's certainly both a rural and an urban problem. And then resources, of course, are a barrier. If you're living in a shelter or living in a motel, you're not able to cook. You may not have an oven. You may not have working appliances. And the last one I think is relatable for everyone, and something that we had a lot of feedback from our patrons about is that when you get home, sometimes you don't have the time or energy to cook for yourself and your family with everything else that's going on. So our newest endeavor starts to kind of address that. And that's such a relatable thing for all of us. So we're really excited about this project. We launched this in July of last year in partnership with 2 healthcare providers. So right now we are partnering with Neighborhood Health Association to bring client-tailored food boxes, kind of in the vein of these home delivery recipe services that they're pretty popular right now. With Neighborhood Health Association, we're providing those to expectant mothers through their Centering Pregnancy program. And then we're also partnering with Mercy Health to do diabetic food boxes for patients that are referred from their doctors into this weekly program that then transitions into a monthly program after their 6-week course. This is awesome. We've had amazing feedback. They've had incredible results health-wise, and behavior changes are the biggest thing. How do you get people to actually do that? You can give people information, but how do you get them to make changes? So we're really thrilled about this. And at the end of May, we also were awarded some funding to be able to provide food boxes for refugee and immigrant families through Toledo Soup in partnership with Social Services for the Arab Community. So we are jazzed about food boxes right now. It's really awesome, and I think that, for lack of a better term, this is kind of like the beautiful love child of both of our programs. We're really packing these with love and intention and thoughtfulness, getting people one step closer to feeding themselves and their families healthy food. So watch for updates on that, please. Okay, so that's all the things that we do. The $1,000,000 question is, how many staffers do you think we have?
Not enough.
The constant nonprofit problem. So we have 3 employees. I am full-time, and we have 2 other part-time employees, one warehouse pantry coordinator and then our volunteer coordinator, which leads me to these mythical creatures, volunteers, whom we love so deeply. We certainly could not do a fraction of what we do day in and day out without people who are willing to invest their time and their hearts and their hands and their heads into all aspects of our programming. They're fantastic. Last year, as Jean said, we had 800 different volunteers who volunteered over 2,000 hours. So that's, absolutely amazing, and really helps us to kind of disseminate our information and our cause and the way that we do things into the community. We have a lot of return volunteers and people who have really become deep members of our Food for Thought family, which is really, really special. So that's something I think is kind of innovative about us and really sets us apart, this level of engagement. So this melting pot of connectivity and interaction, it's something that I really have continued to revere more deeply each day that I've been in this position, in this sector. It's a very powerful thing, and I think that we have a lot of opportunities for people to engage in the community and immerse themselves. So that's outside of the pounds of food that we distribute and the number of families that we serve. Providing an opportunity for people to serve their community and give back is a service in and of itself. And I have really learned the value of that we offer. That's something that I've elevated over the past couple of years. And it's, not just connectivity with the folks that we're serving and the folks that are the recipients of whatever program or food we're providing. It's also the connectivity between volunteers and our staff. We have one gentleman in particular who has been in the Food for Thought circle for many years. He was a recipient of lunches, and people started building relationships with him. We'd see him every Saturday. We were there consistently. He now is kind of in the fold of what we do. He comes to Friday night every single week, helps make lunches, and now helps distribute them on Saturday morning. And also became a donor last December, which was just like heart-opening. Oh my God, the gushy stuff. That's so good. So I think that's something that's really unique about our programs and our service opportunities. And we continue to be a grassroots organization that brings people together. And I think that our plane of equality is something that's really unique to all of our aspects of programming too. So the people who are being served, the people who are serving, it is all on the same level. And that's really the culture that we're trying to convey. And put forth as one of welcome and dignity for every single person that comes into contact with us. So last fall, into the winter, we spent some time doing board vision planning, which is something that no one ever has time for, but it's like the most magical stuff. And so this is what we arrived as our new vision. We envision a Toledo region where the hunger for food, respect, and belonging is met for all people. And I just think this so perfectly encapsulates everything that Food for Thought represents. Certainly, we are here to provide food. We are here to provide sustenance to people in circumstances where they might not be able to do that for themselves at the time. But we also are making sure that we are treating every single person with respect in an environment that usually conveys shame. And we're making sure that everyone feels like they belong. No one is ostracized from our crowd. If you have a passion to serve, we have a place for you. And if you're in need, we have a meal for you, something for you, a connection for you. So this is like our creme de la creme. We're really proud of this. And this is something that we're really trying to elevate, and something that's really driving the course of our future planning for the next few years. Go right ahead. All right, this is the heavy picture load. So consider this your formal invitation to join us. Would love to have you. We have a tremendous amount of volunteer opportunities all the time, family-friendly volunteer opportunities, group volunteer opportunities. Volunteering alone is so scary sometimes. So we, of course, being a nonprofit, we welcome and love and accept all types of donations, in kind and monetary, of course. They help us continue to do our programs, and especially unrestricted funds to make sure that we are covering all of our needed costs, because hiccups happen all the time, especially in our sector. So that's really important to us. We also have several volunteer or fundraising events. I'm a little partial, but I think our events are some of the best to be had in Toledo. Most notably is our Jam City event that we just finished up at the end of May. We've hosted at the Huntington Center for the last 2 years. Manhattan's was a featured restaurant. So chefs concoct their wildest PB&J inspired dishes. The winner this year was the Dirty Bird, and they made a peanut butter pulled pork mole with bacon and date jam. That's a very loose interpretation of what a peanut butter and jelly could be. We had another event called Best of the Midwest over at Black Cloister Brewery in the beginning of spring, and Dietz roasted an entire pig, which was magical and amazing. This year, which I'm so glad that we're all standing in this location, we're going to be hosting our second annual event called Eat in the Street. So last year we closed off the street in front of Manhattan's and had 100 guests under a 100-foot tent. Full service plated 6-course meal. TSA students were serving. It was an evening. Yeah, it was amazing. And chefs collaborating. And one little story, the lovely people who did our ambiance and lighting neglected to put lighting over in the outdoor kitchen prep area. So we have awesome photos like this that are actually taken by chefs shining cell phone lights over the food to be plated. It was a really kumbaya moment for all chefs in Toledo that were participating. It was awesome, absolutely awesome. So yes, for food for thought, we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary. I also arrived at the conclusion that we've made 150,000 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches over the past 10 years, which I think makes us experts. So yes, we invite you to come down. We're thrilled to be doing this work. We are totally Toledo-based, totally Toledo-centric, and I think that we do amazing work, and we would love to invite you to join us to continue to do that. So thank you for your time and attention. I appreciate it.